Your attention for 5 minutes. We have a message from the Keeper of the Seals and Minister of Justice as a conclusion to this Congress. Mr. the President of the European Council Bar, Madam the President of the Paris Bar Association, Mr. the President of National Council of French Bar, Mr. the President of the Conference of Bar Presidents, Mr. the President of the Strasbourg Bar, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to speak today to close your work, because not only is the theme you have dealt with very dear to my heart, but it is also the first event of the EU-French presidency in the field of justice. I would therefore like to congratulate Laurent Petitty and the delegation from the French bars for this great initiative. Your work is directly linked to the priorities of the French presidency, a Europe that protects and the defense of the rule of law. As the President of the Republic regularly reminds us, the fight for Europe and the fight for the rule of law are inseparable. The construction of Europe was born out of the desire to restore humanist values and on the primacy of law over the arbitrary after the horrors of the Second World War. Defending the rule of law, recalling the importance of equality, the fight against all hatreds and discrimination is the deepest essence of Europe, and it is also the role of lawyers. When the rule of law is in danger, lawyers are often among the first victims. A Europe that protects is a Europe where justice is more easily exercised across borders. A Europe that protects is also a Europe where everywhere an accused person has the same basis of rights to defend himself or herself. For a Europe of justice is a Europe of progress. Over the last few decades, the mutual recognition of legal decisions has given a corpus to the European judicial area, and with it, the right of defendants in proceedings have made progresses. The right of information to information in criminal proceedings, which requires, for example, that any suspected person receives a document setting out in simple and accessible terms and a language he or she understands, the right he or she enjoys. The clarification of the right to be assisted by an interpreter at all stages of the proceedings, the right of minors to be systematically assisted by a lawyer, the right of suspects to be present at various stages of the investigation during reconstitutions, for example, the access to legal aid for people without resources in civil as well as in criminal matters. This is long, and it is not closed. It reminds us that Europe has been able to develop the national legislative frameworks to reinforce the rights of individuals and ensure the access to justice. This progress through law is a never-ending task, which Europe calls us to pursue together. Your conference was also an opportunity to address the issue of the protection of migrants' rights. In this respect, the situation of unaccompanied minors is particularly dear to my heart. A seminar organized by the Ministry of Justice will be devoted to this theme in April, to exchange between European countries on how we can work on this painful and difficult phenomenon. I also saw with interest that you addressed the issue of slap proceedings, instrumentalizing the judicial system in order to intimidate journalists, representatives of civil society, researchers, and even lawyers is unacceptable. And this phenomenon has been growing over the last years and constitutes a serious threat to freedom of expression and information in France. It sometimes takes a worrying turn. The draft directive announced for April should introduce procedural safeguards against slap proceedings and support measures for those who are victims, while preserving the fundamental right to take legal action. As it has been announced, the text only concerns cross-border proceedings, and it will be thus essential that member states have similar provisions in their domestic law. Lawyers will, in any case, have a central role in the implementation of such provisions. Finally, you have addressed the subject of sustainable corporate governance. On this, again, this is a question of a Europe that protects, a Europe of values. The introduction of a European duty of care will make Europe a world reference in terms of the integration of sustainability and fundamental right issues in the corporate world. The French presidency will examine in the economic field and not in the justice field the proposals of the European Commission as soon as it will have been adopted. Beyond these different topics, it seems to me that your work has highlighted the role of the lawyer as a fundamental actor of the rule of law. Through his vigilance, the lawyer ensures the guarantee of a fair trial, the effective respect of the presumption of innocence, and the right to personal security. Through his or her capacity to act, he or she exercises recourses against arbitrariness, abuse of right of power, including before constitutional and international jurisdiction. This vigilance and capacity for action must be protected. Europe should work on this, in particular in the framework on the annual report of the European Commission on the rule of law. At a time where humanist values are too often called into question in the public debate, I am grateful to you that your work has highlighted this fundamental role of your fine and great institution. May I most sincerely wish you all an excellent year 2022. Thank you.